What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway here with AllSooners, and alongside by John Hoover at the stadium where Oklahoma's getting ready for the final home game of the season, Bedlam, on Saturday. Oklahoma State, Saturday night on the field behind us. On Tuesday, Brent Venables held his weekly press conference to talk about his first Bedlam game as head coach of the Sooners. Of course, he's been in a lot of these as an assistant over the years. He went down memory lane quite a bit in his nearly hour-long presser on Tuesday. I think it was the longest of the season.
Longest of the season, sure. Earlier today, yeah, right inside these doors. 58 minutes. Brent didn't mind taking additional questions. He opened the press conference by saying, "Hey guys, we're going to switch it up today."
Good call. Yeah.
No opening statement. Let's go straight to questions, which
in.
Usually gives about a 6 to 8 to 10 to 14 minute opening statement. So we were able to get an hour with Brent Venables. Q&A, good stuff today.
I was going to say, not kissing up at all. It was a good 58 minutes.
It was the best. It was the best of the year.
He was in a good mood. A lot of really fun stuff going on memory lane, old Bedlam games, and talking about this weekend's game as well.
You think he might have watched Mike Gundy's press conference yesterday?
Mike Gundy was on one.
Mike Gundy was on one. It's exactly the way I phrased it on the radio today. He was loose and goosey and entertaining and had a good time. And I think Brent might have said, "Hey, I can do that too."
Yeah, absolutely. Brent was in a good mood today. Definitely recommend you check it out. Worth your time for sure. This weekly press conference, you can watch that, of course, on AllSooners.com or on John Hoover Media. So this game this weekend, Oklahoma State, both teams having varying degrees of disappointing seasons. Of course, Oklahoma State just has the 3 losses, but they were hoping to be a playoff team potentially this year. That's not going to happen. Oklahoma, well documented, 5-5 right now. Still need one more win to get to bowl eligibility. When they do it this weekend, they got a lot of guys who are kind of banged up right now, as you'd expect, with just a couple weeks left to go. But things are pretty rosy for a few guys. Brent Venables said today Justin Broyles expecting to be back, which that's great news.
Huge.
It seemed like he was going to be out probably the rest of the season at least. I mean, he looked like he really suffered a tough one on his knee. Brent said he expects him to be back.
Just a hyperextension.
Jaden Davis, Key Lawrence look like they're going to be good to go. Jalen Redmond and Andrew Rame, though, it's a little more dicey. Brent was a little more non-committal on those guys. But obviously, for the most part, it could be worse.
Yeah, Andrew Rame, he said he's going to wait and see how he feels on game week, which is this week. See how he feels on game day, which is coming up. And as for Redmond had some swelling on his knee, had a previous knee injury. He fought through it. He played a season low, I think, 3 snaps Saturday in Morgantown. And I thought he played more. I was looking through my binoculars. I watched the game about 75% through my binoculars. I could have swore I saw 31 out there a lot more, but only 3 snaps according to Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he's a very important guy.
He needs to be back.
Defense isn't overly deep.
For this offense this week, he needs to be back.
Yeah, defense isn't overly deep. You could use Jalen Redmond, who's certainly one of your best players. Forget defensive, one of your best players. So we'll see how that shakes out this weekend. Robert Conjal will fill in for Andrew Rame if that's the way that goes. Brent Venables, Jeff Lebby talked yesterday. They both like what Conjal's done, but certainly Andrew Rame is one of your better offensive linemen. So you want that guy back as well, and also an Oklahoma kid. So, Bedlam means a little something extra to him as well. So we'll get to Bedlam and just the game in just a second, but obviously this season for Oklahoma, 5-5, you had a very good point. You asked yesterday Ted Roof. He kind of elaborated on it. Brent Venables went much deeper, certainly like 10 minutes on it today. Kind of talking about the approach here when you're recruiting from perspective of a team that's not winning. I mean, you're 5-5. He also talked a little bit about what the transfer portal plan is going to be. Some really illuminating stuff from Brent today.
When Jimbo Fisher got this question down at Texas A&M, his response was, "Yeah, I tell him, why would you want to go to that place? They're winning all the time. So come here." Brent Venables made reference to that a couple of weeks ago. That's not the recruiting pitch ever. That team's winning all the time. Don't go play for them. For Oklahoma this year, this is they've got 14 Big 12 conference championships. That's as many as the entire rest of the conference combined has in its history. 14. When it comes to college football playoffs, the Sooners still are sitting at 4. Okay, that's more than everybody else, obviously, in the Big 12 conference. This is something that you can recruit to, right? A long period, a long stretch of success and excellence. So what happens when you're 5-5? Well, the way he phrased it was, yeah, there's an opportunity. And I think players, Ted Roof said the same thing yesterday, players sense an opportunity. Players look at your 5-5 record and see an opportunity for themselves to come in, play early, get their college careers going. That's the recruiting pitch right there for Oklahoma. Now, Brent, of course, extended it and said relationships and accountability and get guys blue-collar work ethic. He mentioned the 99 class, coming in off of that 98, 97, 96 seasons.
Sure.
He wanted it to be known that you can get recruits and you can get quality recruits no matter what your previous circumstances are, just look at their first class in '99. So, there's an opportunity for guys. The real question came in the follow-up when I asked him about the transfer portal, and he talked for 5 more minutes about the transfer portal. He said, just looking cursory, look at the roster. No, they don't have any plans right now, specific laid out, have to do this and this and this. But they're going to need a couple of guys in the transfer portal. And guess what? A quarterback is not one of them. He said explicitly, we don't need a quarterback in the transfer portal.
I was a little surprised by that. I mean, you have Dylan Gabriel, who, for all the look in the world, looks like he's going to be your quarterback next season, barring something surprising.
And I asked Dylan real quick. Yesterday about his future. He said, I don't know what my future is going to be, whether that's NFL, whether that's transfer portal again because he's going to be a graduate student or whatever. He said, and he didn't commit to being here next year.
Sure. So you would think he'd be back next season, but then after that, I mean, we talked about it at length this year. The backup situation currently is dire. It's not good at all. Now you have Jackson Arnold coming in, 5-star. We all think it's going to be great, but I mean, true freshman. I mean, come on, it's a dicey situation. Even Caleb Williams, as great as he was, how much we talk about him, he had growing pains as a true freshman. I mean, it's hard to be put in that kind of situation. I would think Oklahoma would want to add at least one more guy, but Brent Venables said that's not really in the plans, at least as of now.
I don't know where this is coming from, but we're all hearing about Jackson Arnold being on flip watch for Jackson Arnold. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
I don't think there's any chance of that happening because Brent today in the press conference said, hypothetical, let's just say we had a 5-star quarterback that everybody wanted committed to Oklahoma. He was talking about Jackson Arnold without actually saying the words Jackson Arnold. He's very proud of the fact that Jackson is staying committed, attached to the relationships, and sees the vision and the process that's going on here at Oklahoma.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see how this shakes out. Brent, I mean, he was honest when talking about the recruiting pitch, saying, hey, look, we're in the sales business. It'd be negligence not to bring up all your aspects. And he admitted, hey, if I was one of the 10-0 teams, I'd be saying, why would you want to go there? They're losing.
Right.
He's like, you got to do what you got to do to get players here. And he said, if we follow our process, it'll work out just fine. So coming up on this weekend now, Bedlam. It's always fun. We're in the last potentially few of these. The second to last one in Norman, you presume, if Oklahoma stays in the Big 12 through the contract until 2025. Last year, this game was insane. It was a circus. That was the whole Lincoln Riley LSU week, and then obviously Lincoln left the week after the game. Spencer Sanders was popping off during the weekly press conference. It was a zoo week last year. It's not that yet. We might get there, but it is still Bedlam. Brent Venables talked about the matchup this weekend, saying, hey, Spencer Sanders has been, basically, he said he's played a ton of football. He's been OSU for a very long time. He's a leader. It looks like he's going to be back and ready to go this weekend after missing some time in the last few weeks. This is another tough test for Oklahoma, and defensively, how could you not be worried about them going against Sanders, who can obviously move and, as Brent said, is leading the Big 12 in total yards.
Yeah, I asked, just as an aside, I asked Marvin Mims about that last night, and a couple other guys after practice player interviews. Marvin Mims said it feels like it's been 2 years since Lincoln Riley left. So that's the perspective of the players. But yeah, just in general, Spencer Sanders. He said, Brent said something like 53. I hadn't counted these up myself, so I'm going off of what Brent said. 53 starts in high school.
Something like that.
42 starts in college. Who starts 95 games in their career? He said this kid's exceptionally experienced and skilled and talented and tough. Leader. He said players really go after him in terms of following him as a leader. So, something that and another thing he said that was interesting that you brought up earlier. This is a guy you don't necessarily want to cover everybody.
Yeah.
Because he'll take off
backfire.
And run. Yeah, and he's such a talented, athletic runner that he can beat you on the ground. He's a little bit banged up this week. He's a little bit banged up this season, so don't know how viable that is going to be as a runner. But, man, Spencer Sanders is that guy.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be cold, but it's going to be fun. Bedlam always is. Mike Gundy and Spencer Sanders since Oklahoma announced that SEC move, both those guys have been very willing to speak up about how they feel about Oklahoma and Bedlam. Mike Gundy, like we said earlier, was wilding yesterday in his press conference. Spencer Sanders last year at Big 12 Media Days. Last week he was asked, last Saturday after their win over Iowa State, you're going to be good for Bedlam, and he basically said, there's no way I'm missing Bedlam. Yeah. So it's going to be fun. It always is. Ronnie Perkins getting in there on Twitter. It's the best. It's the best. It's Bedlam. So, and we only have a few more of these, it looks like, for who knows how long. Oklahoma State on Saturday. Tons of preview coverage there for you on AllSooners.com. Leading up to the start of this ball game Saturday night in Norman. Like I said, it's going to be cold, but we're going to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Always is for Bedlam. Catch us all week, and of course during the game, the live blog and full post-game reaction afterward, deep into the wee hours of the night here at the stadium. We'll be breaking it all down for you on AllSooners.com. Reaction from players, coaches, us. game stories, game highlights. You know the drill by now. Oklahoma State on Saturday. That's it for now. We'll see you on Saturday back here at the stadium. For John Hoover, I'm Josh Callaway.